Your heart is beating at 110 beats per minute, but your face is perfectly still. The air in the room is filtered, pressurized, and exactly 68 degrees. On the screen in front of you, a number is blinking. $1.2 billion. It isn't your money. It never was. You are just the biological mechanism required to make it move. It's 3:14 a.m. in Midtown Manhattan. The glass tower around you is silent, save for the low, rhythmic hum of the server room. Your coffee is cold. The surface of the liquid has formed a thin, oily film that catches the blue light of the Bloomberg terminal. You've been awake for 22 hours. You are currently rebuilding a discounted cash flow model because a managing director didn't like the terminal growth rate on slide 47. You change the assumption by 25 basis points. The valuation shifts. $100 million vanishes into the digital ether. You don't blink. You send the email. You wait. This is the beginning. This is when you still think the machine is something you can use. You believe you are learning. You tell yourself that proximity to capital is an accident of effort, not a structural trap. You rationalize the loss of your sleep, the erosion of your relationships, and the slow liquidation of your 20s as a down payment. You see the partners walking through the lobby with their $4,000 suits and their vacant eyes, and you think you want what they have. You don't yet realize that they don't have anything. They are just further along in the conversion process. 1 year passes, then 3. Your title changes. Senior analyst, associate, vice president. Your base salary climbs, and you start to breathe differently. You are no longer just producing decks. You are in the room. You sit in the side chairs during negotiations for a $6 billion debt restructuring. You watch the CFO of a major utility company sweat through his shirt. You hear your VP walk them through a high-yield bond issuance with terms that are predatory, almost surgical. You say nothing. You are learning that deals are not about numbers. They are about leverage, timing, and the strategic use of silence. You close your first transaction independently. $340 million. Your name isn't in the press release. Your managing director's name is. You get a handshake and a spot bonus that equals half your father's annual salary. You feel a surge of something you mistake for pride. It isn't pride. It's the first stage of numbness. You are starting to understand relationship architecture. You realize the deal flow isn't random. The trust that moves billions was built 15 years ago over private dinners you weren't invited to. But now, the invitations are starting to arrive. The transformation accelerates. You move to a private equity firm managing $12 billion in assets. You stop thinking about salary. You think in carry. Your potential upside is $40 million, maybe $90 million if the fund performs. You are no longer advising. You are deploying. You take a control position in a healthcare services platform. You run the board call. You use words like right-sizing and operational leverage. Language is your insulation now. It keeps the heat of the consequences away from your skin. You approve a plan to cut 800 jobs in 18 months. You aren't the one who delivers the news. The CEO does. You are in a windowless room in Geneva, discussing the exit multiple. You look at the spreadsheet. 800 nodes on an org chart. 800 mortgages. 800 families. They are not people to you anymore. They are units of measurement. They are operational downside to be absorbed by the management team while your fund captures the upside. It is legal. It is normal. It is the physics of the level you now inhabit. You fly to Riyadh, then Singapore, then Dubai. You eat in airports and sleep in hotels that all look identical. Polished stone, dark wood, and the same scent of expensive neutrality. Your relationships are transactional. Your family sees you on weekends when there isn't a deal in closing. You haven't felt nervous about a transaction in 3 years. You aren't sure if that's confidence, or if the part of you that feels anything has simply been outgrown. You join the elite level. The architect. You sit on the board of a $90 billion sovereign wealth fund. You don't run trades. You set allocation mandates. You decide which markets receive capital and which markets are starved of it. When you move, secondary effects ripple across global markets before you even finish the press release. You are the press release. You have a direct line to finance ministers and central bank governors. You are not a lobbyist. You are a peer. You move $14.7 billion in emerging market debt exposure over 18 months, quietly. You do it in coordination with 2 other funds. No one outside sees the full picture. When a sovereign nation signals distress, you are positioned before the rating agencies even open their files. You are operating at a level of synthesis that produces foresight. It isn't inside information. It is simply the view from the top of the architecture. You have not used a public ATM in 6 years. You travel with a security detail. Your name appears on a Forbes list, and you hire an intermediary to make sure it never happens again. Privacy, trust, freedom, human connection. These are not things you lost. They are things you exchanged. You no longer know what you would do if you stopped. The silence of your house on the water is louder than the noise of the trading floor ever was. You are not happy. You are not unhappy. Those categories dissolved years ago. They were replaced by orientation, a permanent clinical read of the environment, a constant positioning of capital against risk. You are technically a private individual, but you influence the liquidity of nations. You make decisions, and 6 people with ironclad NDAs execute them. You knew about a central bank rate adjustment 3 weeks ago, not because someone told you, but because you understand the structure well enough to read it before it speaks. Your unrealized value is $2.4 billion. You see your children on holidays. You love them with whatever remains of your capacity to feel. Late one Tuesday, you stand in your corner office on the 44th floor. The glass is cold against your forehead. You look down at the street, 50 stories below. The people look like pixels. The cars look like data points moving through a logistics model. You see a young man, maybe 22, walking through the lobby doors of the tower across the street. He's wearing a new shirt. His badge is freshly printed. It still has that faint chemical smell of the printer. He checked the annual report last night. He knows the revenue. He knows your name. He thinks he is starting a career in finance. He thinks the system rewards intelligence and hard work. He thinks this is about money. He is already wrong. It was never about the money. It was always about the architecture underneath. The machine doesn't care about his dreams. It doesn't care about your $2.4 billion. It doesn't care about the 800 people you laid off in Ohio or the sovereign debt you restructured in Geneva. The machine is a self-optimizing organism that requires human fuel to maintain its equilibrium. It will take that young man's time. It will take his sleep. It will take his relationships and his moral hesitation. It will replace them, piece by piece, with logic, leverage, and numbness. It will do this until he is exactly like you, a perfectly calibrated gear that believes it is the engineer. And one day, 30 years from now, he will stand where you are standing. He will look down at the lobby and see the next one walking in. He will realize that he didn't conquer the system. He just served his term. The elevator goes up. The lobby doors close. The system doesn't notice the arrival, and it won't notice your departure. The capital is permanent. The people are not. You pour a glass of water. You sit back down at your desk. The terminal blinks. A new crisis is forming in a market you haven't looked at in weeks. You begin to model the downside. You are powerful, but you are not safe. You are influential, but you are replaceable. You are wealthy, but you are not free. The machine is already looking for your successor. If the system has already decided what you're worth, why are you still trying to prove it right?